So good morning and welcome to Pure Talks. And this morning I am with Sandrine Olmi, who is a nutritionist and someone who I met when I did a retreat, and with Nadine Searle, who everyone who watches these talks I'm sure will know because Nadine's around a lot. And I was fascinated by Sandrine. She had quite a different approach to nutrition and women's health. And she gave us an amazing talk and there were lots of questions. And I thought, I think she's got like a slightly different approach. And I think that's because you're French and maybe your upbringing and your training was slightly different to the traditional English way. So welcome, Sandrine.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Can you tell us, just first of all, why you got into nutrition? Why this subject for you?
It's very interesting because most nutritionists will say that they've had their own health journey before moving into nutrition, and that's the same with myself. Like you said, I grew up in France, so very lucky to grow up on the farm. You know, my mom and dad were growing their produce, so really well brought up, eating really good food. Then came to this country, I stopped counting the number of years now, but it's over 25 years ago, and had various marketing jobs, pretty stressful. So just got into the way of life in this country, which is grabbing lunch on the go really quickly, maybe having a sweet snack mid-afternoon and so on. And very soon you realize actually your body relies on that sugar rush, in the afternoon. And after a few years, I developed really bad digestive issues. Not bad enough to have tests done by, a hospital, but the GP would say, yes, you have IBS. There's not a lot you can do about it. And I just thought, hold on a second, I'm in my 30s. I should be enjoying life to the full. And I'm feeling miserable. I'm feeling in pain. I'm feeling absolutely horrible. So I just said to my husband, I'll sign up for a short course in nutrition. And this short course in nutrition became a 3-year diploma. And yes, and basically first year, really enjoyed it. Second year, started seeing clients. And I just thought, hold on a second, I cannot keep this as a secret. Everyone needs to know the power of food on the body. And the third year, I was completely convinced that I needed to open a practice and start helping people. So that's my story.
So do you kind of embed that into your lifestyle as well, in the way you bring up your kids, because you've got a daughter, haven't you? Do you embed all of this into your lifestyle, how you feed your family, with your children and everything?
I try as much as I can. I have the fussiest eater on this planet. So there we go. I was sent a challenge. But very much my approach is, like you mentioned at the beginning, is a little bit different in the sense that I'm very relaxed around food. And I think people should really take food as a positive thing, not just that, I need to be fed so that I can function, the whole enjoying food. And I think with my daughter, the fact that she is fussy, I soon realized that actually the less stress I would put on her around food, the less issues I was going to create really long term. So I'm letting her enjoy what she wants to enjoy. Yes, of course, I'm going to hide a few things once in a while just to make sure she has a balanced diet. But I want her to enjoy what she's eating, even if her list of food that she's eating is quite restrictive. I still want her to have that enjoyment. And so yes, I embed what I obviously share, but I'm probably not as strict as some other nutritionists, because I find that if you're too strict with yourself, it's come a point where you just give up, because let's face it, it's too boring and not effective. So to be fully in tune with your body and eating what you need is so much more effective and more enjoyable.
Yeah, because you come from that French culture, who eat to who live to eat, as opposed to the English who eat to live.
And when my husband comes to France with me, we're sitting at the table having lunch, and what are we talking about? We're talking about what are we having for dinner. It's a classic, absolute classic. We just love our food.
Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time in France, and the day just revolves around food. And you know, the patisserie's open in the morning for the croissant, and they're all freshly baked on site, and they sell out by like 9:30. And then, you know, lunch is a specific like 2 hours where everything closes and you can't do anything else but eat. And
That's
then
right.
they eat late, so they don't start eating until like 7:30. Do you think does that have an impact, the later hour?
I think, you know, if you take a typical family, you know, if you spend a week with them, you'll find that actually their lunch is bigger than a dinner. So yes, lunch takes enough time because we are taking our time to eat slowly and enjoying everything that we're eating. Then we feel we're fully satisfied. So we're less likely to snack in the afternoon. And then in the evening, people tend to have quite a small meal. It might be a soup or a salad, or it tends to be whatever is in the fridge, like leftovers, that kind of thing. Then I'm finding in the UK is kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
People to have a big dinner when the family's back home after work, after school, maybe having it a little bit earlier, which I think earlier is better if you're going to have a bigger meal. But the lunch I'm finding here in the UK is that people don't eat enough. And because you don't eat enough, then you may have a tendency to then want some food in the afternoon, which is understandable. If you're hungry, you need to eat. So, you know, it's just balancing that out throughout the day so that you are eating enough, but you don't go to bed with a really full tummy, you know, at night.
Yeah, we're terrible, aren't we, here, of skipping meals. That's a bad one, isn't it? Skipping meals, as you say, not consciously eating, so like eating while doing something, other tasks. And yeah, so you would advocate for a more healthy, bigger lunch?
I would, or at least making sure you have all the food groups, you know. For example, you know, I used to work in London, and, you know, you'd go and buy lunch, you know, outside, you know, being, you know, some sort of high street chain. And, you know, you buy a salad and you look at the salad and it's not balanced. You know, it'll have some protein, sometimes, you know, quite often it's protein and some vegetables, and there's no carbs at all. But that's what keeps you full. That's what fuels your brain, actually, a little bit of carbs, the right carbs, of course. But so I'm finding that actually when you buy a meal out, it's usually not enough. You almost need to boost it a little bit just to make sure you're full enough to then have a good afternoon work, you know.
So what are good carbs then?
So your classic whole grains, basically. So things like brown rice or wild rice. Your buckwheat is really nice. You know, I tend to recommend gluten-free ones, but you could go for a whole meal, you know, pasta or, you know, that kind of thing as well, just to keep you full. And then you can also look at pulses, you know, like lentils and chickpeas. These are great addition to salads, you know, if you're going to make salad at home. So have a bit of that, a bit of protein, and then lots of veg. You can perhaps prepare the night before.
Yeah, I love chickpeas. I am a chickpea fan, and I put them with spices and things.
Nice. Yes, love chickpeas too. Yeah, they're so versatile. You can make a stew with them, you can make hummus, and you can, you know, obviously everyone knows the hummus from the shelves, you know, when you go to the market. But you can make your own, and you can spice it up. You can make it with different beans, you can make it with different veg, you can make a beetroot hummus, you know, it's so versatile. I love that. Yeah, I love it.
So how would you make a beetroot hummus? Oh, I'm excited.
Well, basically, you would roast the beetroot to really bring out the flavor of the beetroot, you know, roasted beetroot.
Yeah.
Juicy. And yeah, just your classic hummus recipe, your chickpea, your tahini, your garlic, olive oil, you know, lemon juice, and just add your beetroot to it. And then it's
wow,
something pink as well. It's really pretty.
It's a pretty food. But that's the thing, isn't it? How easy is that? And you can actually buy roasted beetroot, so you don't even need to have to do it yourself. You could actually just buy it roasted if you really didn't have any time.
Absolutely. And I'm all for shortcuts. And I'm a huge fan of these little pouches, you know, merchant gourmet pouches, you know, ready cooked grains, pulses. And for anyone who's working in an office who wants to put a lunch together that's, you know, filling enough, get one of these pouches. They do 2 servings in 1 pouch. And you're sorted, you know. So yeah, I'm all for shortcuts. If it's going to help you eat well, then why not, you know?
Yeah, I like a long cut, I have to be honest. I like the whole, like, grow the beetroot in the garden because it's so easy. Well, it's so easy, isn't it? You know, just as long as you plant your seeds early in the season, after the frost, but before it gets hot, and you just put them in there and water them regularly to begin with, so that they just kind of, I forget about them in the summer, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh look, I've got beetroot. I'm a very lazy gardener.
Just making sure that slugs don't eat the seedlings, because that's what happens in my house. Got lots and lots of slugs, so they tend to eat everything. So, but
okay,
yeah,
so
no.
coffee grounds, put coffee grounds all around the edge of your, because they hate that. Anything gritty, the slugs don't like. Yeah, because I won't use any chemicals or anything in, because I have, no one could see him, but he's laying here. We have the Ted, don't we? We have the tent. He's always laying on my lap. So I don't use any chemicals, obviously, in the garden because of the dogs and the wildlife. We live on the edge of a wood, so we've got badgers and we've got deer, and so I wouldn't use any chemicals at all. But yeah, I'm a very lazy gardener. Chuck them in and forget about them is my philosophy. And then go around there in September and go, oh, look at that. It's amazing. Brilliant. And yeah, some of them would have been nibbled on by the rabbits or whatever, but it's okay. So yeah, so if you want to do the long cut like Lesley, you can start at the beginning and then chuck them in the oven and roast them. Or I sometimes boil them and then pickle them.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, or you can do the shortcut, like Sandrine said.
That's it.
So yeah, and have pink food. Love a bit of colour. And so that brings me on to the next question. Is there's a lot of discussion around this colourful diet, so having lots of colour. What's your take on that?
Absolutely. It's just such an easy way of making sure you get, you know, a wide range of nutrients, because most of the nutrients our body, you know, only gets those from the food we eat, and it's easy to forget that. You know, we think that our body is this machine that works really well, we just need to feed it sometimes and it works. But actually it needs to be fed those nutrients on a regular basis. So instead of thinking, oh, I need vitamin A and I need vitamin C and E, and where do I get that from, just have as many colors as possible on your plate, and you know, you're pretty much there. So and also eating, you know, mentioned, you know, growing your own. I'm a huge fan of eating with the seasons. Number one, it tastes so much nicer, and number two, it kind of helps you to change your diet as well, and not to eat the same thing, because I'm finding that people, you know, will perhaps order online and have their, you know, their favorites, and you just press reorder. So you don't even think, you don't even connect with the season. You know, it's like, yes, there's tomatoes on that list. Actually, tomatoes in December, I'm not a fan because they don't taste very nice. Their nutrition won't be as, you know, as good as a summer tomato, you know, that's grown in the sun. So yeah, going for as many colors as possible is a really easy guide to do. Kids can do it, you know, everyone can do it.
And you said seasonal there, and I think, you know, as well, from a an ethical and like food miles consideration as well. If you're eating tomatoes, fresh tomatoes in December, they've come on a bit of a journey.
That's right.
That's not good for our planet either. So it might not be good for our body, but it's definitely not good for the planet if they've like traveled across many miles to get to us. And gives you an opportunity to try something different.
Exactly. You know, another vegetable that comes to mind is asparagus. You know, these days you find asparagus all year round.
Yeah.
No, in the UK, asparagus grow for how long? A month or two?
A couple of months, yeah.
That's it. So, you know, yes, the whole sustainability is, we need to start getting in tune with, you know, what is going in season and what's, you know, and even for our pockets, you know, it's helpful to buy vegetables that are grown really close to us. It will be much cheaper.
Yeah, we were talking about that, weren't we, at the retreat, about the cost of living, and actually if you eat fresh food, it's actually cheaper.
It is.
If you buy fresh seasonal food, it's actually very good for you financially.
Yeah, and you can make it, you know, you can make big soups and big stews and freeze them, and that lasts you. You can, you know, this way.
And share.
Yeah, we did talk about that, didn't we?
Yeah, share. I saw a thing on a Facebook page local to me, and there was a lady just like yesterday, and there was a lady saying, I'm making soup this week. and she was saying, these are the soups I'm making for the next like 5 or 7 days, can't remember. And if anyone, this is where I live, if anyone wants to come and swap me, I'll give you some of this soup and you can swap me for something different. And I was like, what a genius. That is such a good idea, because it's fuel efficient to make a bigger portion. Obviously, you know, she's using all seasonal, and to make soup, you can use all those vegetables that are on discount.
Absolutely.
All the ones that look terrible.
Indeed, yes, that's usually what happens in my house, is the ones that are at the bottom of the baskets, you know, that are looking a bit, they go in a soup.
Exactly. I did it yesterday because we've been away, and I came back and all the vegetables looked terrible. I was like, right, soup. And I made a huge thing of soup, and I put in loads of spices and everything with it, and it was delicious, and it's incredibly good for you. But yeah, so you can buy all of the end of date, out of date, coming to the, you know, about to be thrown away veggies, and make amazing soups with those. And, you know, just go to your spice cupboard and add some herbs and spices. But I thought that was a genius idea. So one person does soup and another person does, I don't know, pies. If someone else likes baking, swap.
Well, that's brilliant.
Yeah. So just to round it off, what are your top tips then? We were talking about this. What are your top tips for budget friendly, healthy gut food?
Well, first one, I think we talked about right at the beginning, is to kind of pay attention when you actually have a meal, and just eat calmly and really enjoy what you're eating. So your body would love that, because when we eat our food slowly, we then digest better. It means that you know, when the food gets to your stomach, it's broken down nicely, and your body has to work so hard, because then you may experience bloating and gas and things like that. So eating calmly is definitely your number one top tip.
It's very French philosophy, isn't it? Eat slowly, eat calmly, chew everything properly.
I'm not saying all French people do it, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's some French people.
No, not in Paris.
But if you can, it doesn't, and I'm not saying you have to, you know, take 2 hours to eat your lunch, okay? Who has 2 hours in this country to eat lunch? No one. But even 15-20 minutes, just, you know, not doing anything else, just really focusing on what, you know, what you're eating is really helpful. Another thing that you can do, is really doesn't cost much to boost your digestion generally, is to have a little bit of lemon juice in water, or a little bit of raw apple cider vinegar in water with a straw to protect your teeth, because that's quite harsh on the teeth, just before a meal. That basically adds a bit of acidity in your body, and it just means that the stomach is kind of ready to digest.
Oh, we're frozen again.
I have as well, yeah. I'm gone.
It's completely gone this time.
Yeah.
Probiotic.
I was looking at you. Okay.
Sorry, we lost you just briefly there, because my internet, because of the snow, is very unstable today. So go back to where you were talking about drinking through a straw with the lemon juice and everything. Okay. Sorry.
So tip number 2 would be around digestion, you know, how to help your body digest food better. So before a meal, you can have a little bit of fresh lemon juice in water, or a bit of raw apple cider vinegar in water, and you drink that with a straw to protect your teeth, the enamel of your teeth. And that basically adds a bit of acidity in your stomach, and it helps with digestion. So if you feel a bit sluggish, like, you know, it takes you time to digest your food, that's a nice thing to do, particularly before large meals as well. Your larger meal.
And is apple cider vinegar, is that a really good thing for your just general health as well? If you're like recovering from illness and things like that, I've heard that recommended.
Yes, it has got lots of benefits, but make sure you get the raw version, the unpasteurized version, and it's called with the mother. So it's made in a certain way, and it needs to say that on the label to have all these health benefits. It's,
with the mother.
That's right, with the mother.
Right, so raw apple cider vinegar with the mother, and then that's got really good health benefits.
That's right, and it's usually a bit cloudy. You know, when you you know, there's usually a little bit of sediment at the bottom. That's the real stuff. If you get the pasteurized version, it means that all the good bacteria are being killed, basically. So you really want to go for the raw
Yeah, pointless having that then, isn't there really?
That's it. And then
Yeah.
I'll bring you my next tip, which is fermented foods, which again are full packed of healthy bacteria and probiotics. And again, so one example is sauerkraut. And there's lots of health shops that sell pasteurized sauerkraut. Yes, it tastes good. It's great to add in various dishes, but you won't get the health benefits of a raw version one. So if you're looking to add, goodness to your gut, then go for raw sauerkraut or raw kimchi. You can find kombucha is another good one. What you may find though, a little tip is, go very slowly with it. So don't go overboard. Just have a teaspoon to start with and build up to maybe a tablespoon a day. Otherwise, your gut is going to go, whoa, what is going on? And you may start bloating and feeling a bit uncomfortable before you get better. Okay?
Right. Okay. Is there somewhere online people can go to buy these things? A kind of trusted online place, not Amazon.
Probably somewhere like Planet Organic or something similar. Your local health shop, independent health shop will have raw sauerkraut in their fridge. That's where it's stored, in the fridge.
In the
Planet
fridge.
Organic is a good starting point, but then you can probably find similar products in your local health shop.
Yeah, not a brand, not a high street brand, but from a local run organic. Yeah,
that's
perfect. Lovely.
So another tip really to help boost your gut that doesn't really cost a lot, and it's a little bit tricky at this time of the year, but it's tricky all year round, but it's basically trying to reduce or really go easy on sugary foods, because we've just talked about the good bacteria in the gut, and sugar feeds the bad bacteria in the gut. So it's all about balance. It's okay to have a piece of birthday cake if it's your grandma's birthday or whatever. I'm not saying you shouldn't have that, but to eat sugar every day, like I used to do, in the afternoon, have that chocolate bar, that really just feed the bad bacteria. It's not really quite helpful. It also plays with your blood sugar level, and if you're looking for energy, that's an energy killer basically. So just reducing that. And if you have a better meal at lunchtime, you'll find that naturally you don't quite need that sugary snack later on. So just thing to bear in mind, really. It's all about balance, isn't it?
Wine at lunchtime? No.
Again, I think that's an old tradition. I think people who work don't have a glass.
Moderation.
It's quite hard to concentrate.
I can't. I fall asleep in the afternoon if I had wine. But I know there will be people watching going, does that mean I can have a wine? If you're talking French diet, do they have wine at lunchtime?
Again, sorry to share the news, but alcohol is very high in sugar. So it will do the same job as your chocolate bar. So it's up to you, it's up to you. You choose.
Yeah, the French also have that little kind of like really noisette coffee and water after their meal as well. I see quite frequently. What's that all about?
One coffee, a couple of coffees a day is fine. It's actually quite good for you. Some people react really well to coffee, some don't, and there's a genetic issue around that. Some people don't tolerate coffee. Me. So if I have a full caffeine coffee, I will feel it for sure. So I only have it if I'm absolutely exhausted, because I know it works. But if people are, anyone who's experiencing a bit of stress, I'd say really cut down on caffeine, just to allow your body to deal with all that stress, because otherwise our adrenals get overworked, and it's not nice to then reach kind of burnout state. So anyone who's sensitive to caffeine, there's lots of decaffeinated option these days. You can buy a really nice coffee without the caffeine. So the options are there.
Perfect, thank you. So moving on. So basically the next tip, number 5, was reducing stress. So that kind of goes nicely with the caffeine. And it may sound crazy to say, oh, you just need to reduce your stress, because everyone's life is packed to the brim, right? So you may be working, maybe looking after family members, maybe looking after kids,
So it's just grabbing these moments in a day where you can go, breathe, and allow your body to rest, and to, that when we allow our body to rest, that's when it repairs itself. If we just keep going and keep going, keep going, just like a car, if you don't take your car to the garage to have it fixed, once a year, or checked, once a year, something's going to break at some point. So if we just allow, ourselves to breathe, be, relax, move, all these things just reduce the stress.
It's the moving, isn't it? I think I would say what I do when I feel like that and I feel like I haven't got any time is, instead of going in the lift, I'll take the stairs. It's those little things that you think, oh, I'm going to take the lift because it's time saving, but actually I'm going to take the stairs because it's good for my mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's tricky because it's when we need it the most that we don't fancy doing it, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's a bit like eating good food. We eat good food when we feel rubbish, but we don't feel like doing it. But actually just being conscious and thinking, what can I do for my body right now that's going to make me feel really good? Like the one thing, just pick one thing in a day, So maybe it is movement. Maybe it's making a nice smoothie that's going to really give you some nice energy to get through the day.
Just going and turning the kettle on and making yourself some hot water and putting some lemon in it.
That's it. That's an act of self-care, isn't it?
Exactly.
Really?
Long enough, standing there and like waiting for the kettle to boil.
Just a bit of breathing.
And breathe in. Yeah, what does Nadine say? She says you breathe in and then you breathe out twice as long, doesn't she?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that activates the vagus nerve.
That's it. Yeah, you feel your shoulders coming down and everything just relaxes and it feels so much better. It doesn't have to take long,
Yeah, I know. It's just remembering, isn't it? So we just keep reminding you all. Breathe in.
And out.
And out longer. And then you just feel it. The connection between your brain and your stomach is activated. Yeah.
And the next tip is very obvious as well, but it's just sleeping as much as you can, and I know some people have, I have a daughter who disrupt me in the night at the moment, but yeah, just trying to maybe go to bed a little bit earlier, or again listening to the body and just not being sucked in by another series on TV or whatever, which I've done. But then the next day you feel really quite very tired. So sleep, again, it's that time when the body repairs itself.
It's that binging, isn't it? We're in that binge culture because everything's so accessible. It's like you watch one episode of something and you think, oh, I can watch all 10 now. And then you find yourself, it's 4 a.m. and you think this was really bad idea. Really bad idea. Yeah, because it's so accessible.
That's it. And we all experience it. We're human. It's there. It's tempting. But just, if you want to feel good, most of the time, it's just these little things to, these little habits, and kind of go, okay, what time is a good time for me to go to bed? Because the body lacks regularity as well. So if it's 11, great, go to bed at 11 every night. Okay, one night you go to bed a bit later, that's fine. But it's just having that little routine.
Yeah, your body likes a rhythm, a familiar rhythm, doesn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. So and then my last tip was, you kind of touched on it a little bit, is about movement, and getting some fresh air. And it's yesterday I went for a nice walk. I had to go and feed a friend's couple of cats, and they were up the high street, and I thought, oh gosh, it's snow, it's frozen everywhere, and actually dress up nicely, warm, and it was really nice. I felt quite full of energy when I came back. So just find something that works for you.
Yeah, getting outside is always, even if you just go outside, stand outside on, at the end of your path or outside your front door, and just getting some fresh air as opposed to the air because now we've made our houses so sealed, haven't we? To keep the heat in. And of course, now is so important because we don't want to be spending ridiculous amounts of money heating our houses, that we're like closing all the doors and keeping everything closed in. And that's rebreathing in all that stale air.
Indeed. And actually, yes, I know we don't want to open windows, but it's quite nice to
take yourself outside.
Yeah, definitely.
Keep your house warm, go outside with a coat on.
And that's it. That's my final tip, definitely.
Oh, thank you. That was absolutely brilliant. And it is so good to hear from someone who's been, obviously raised in a different culture. Just, we're so used to our own, as you say, it's so unhealthy, our eating lunch in this, like, not even stopping and eating lunch on the go. It's really bad.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure that there must be a reason behind it. It must be, when people used to work outside in fields or building, work, or, you want to come home early, especially when it's cold and raining,
Yeah.
and so eating dinner earlier, I don't think that's a bad thing. In fact, it is pretty good. We should all be eating earlier. But then it's the lunch, it's just rebalancing that. We're so used to eating sandwiches, which are not necessarily balanced. And some people that's enough, but most of the people it isn't, because we're doing so much around it,
Yeah, it is a response, isn't it? It's a response over many generations to a situation they found themselves in. We're not in that situation now.
That's it. And the number of ladies that come and talk to me about energy, usually the first thing I do is tweak their lunch, and straight away they feel much more energized because they're eating more. So it's not actually necessarily about eating less, even to manage weight. It's eating the right food, and quite often more of the good foods,
Yeah, and we have this terrible thing in the UK called afternoon tea. Which you love it, but it's really bad.
But it's a treat, and that's
it
how
is a treat. Don't do it all the time.
That's it, on a Sunday afternoon meeting for afternoon tea is wonderful. It's a fabulous tradition.
Yeah,
not every day, obviously.
It's very good for your mental health.
It's about meeting people and sharing, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's what this is about.
Yeah, it is. But it was a snack to deal with exactly what you described. It was invented originally to deal with that sugar low in the middle of the afternoon, and then it became a communal thing that became a social thing, which is much better reason for it. And as you say, everything in moderation. You don't have to cut anything out forever, but just I think more awareness around it, then you can make your choices. And if you want to do it, then it makes you feel rubbish for a bit, and you know why, then that's up to that's a choice, isn't it? We're all adults, we can make those choices.
Absolutely. But sometimes people need a little helping hand to just guide them, to break those habits, because that's what they are. They're habits. So we just do them without thinking. So when you start tweaking those, then you think, actually, I don't need this. I don't need these biscuits this afternoon. I'll just have, something else instead, that's a little bit more nutritious. And
it's a bad habit that we get into. And I used to be a terrible biscuit person. I would eat a whole packet because I think
I did that too, I
just eat the whole packet. It's better it's gone now.
But you know what? Sometimes I run a free challenge called Snack Attack, and it's all about finding out why we eat certain foods. Not which food particularly, but the why. I used to eat packets of biscuits, and you know why? It's because I used to do it in the evening. I was far away from home, probably a bit lonely, and you just want a hug. And that's what food does to you. It's just like a virtual hug, basically,
Biscuit hug. Especially bourbons. I don't know why.
But maybe picking up the phone and talking to a friend or having a nice bath might just have the same effect.
So I managed to break it by having a bath. That was what I did. Instead, I think biscuit, no, bath. And and doing something different. You just have to replace the response, don't you, with a different outcome. And and then I took all sugar out of my diet, because I am someone who does that kind of thing. I don't advocate it for everybody. I'm someone who just, like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all in one go, which thus eating the entire packet of biscuits. So thank you so much. That's been really fascinating, really helpful, and hopefully it will give people an opportunity to make some different decisions.
Fantastic. I hope it helps.
And if you have found listening to Sandrine fascinating and interesting, and you'd like to contact her, then her contact details will be in all of the comments below. We always put everyone's website and everything, and also on the Pure website I've got Sandrine's top tips, and I've made some extra notes, so we will put that in the journal as well. So if people want to refresh, or don't want to rewatch this again because you didn't write it down, these will all be also in the journal, so you'll be able to go onto the website, click on the journal, and you'll find Sandrine's top tips for healthy nutrition on there. And thank you, Sandrine, again, and you'll find her email and contact details as well, all of there. So yeah,
thank you
reach
so much,
out.
Anne.
Yeah, reach out if you found Sandrine's approach something that excites and interests you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I always do, an initial chat anyway to see, to understand what people are trying to achieve, and to see nutritional therapy is the right thing for them.
Yeah, because it's not, everybody's different, aren't they? So not everybody is right for everybody.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.